So in last videos we have seen about surface tension. We have understood it, the surface tension qualitatively. Now we have to understand how we can quantify the surface tension, that is quantitative definition of surface tension. Right? Surface, we have seen theoretically what the surface tension is and how it comes about. What is the molecular explanation of surface tension. Now we have to see the formula of surface tension, how we can quantify surface tension numerically. What can be the formula for the surface tension? See, surface tension, I told you, is a phenomena where the liquid surface or liquid membrane, they behave like a stressed liquid surface or liquid film, they behave like a stressed membrane. So if something behaves like a stressed membrane, suppose if I take a loop like this, say I have this kind of loop, say we have this kind of loop, and suppose we have a soap film, right? Soap film put on this A, B, C, D loop. If I dip this loop in a soap solution, there will be a soap film which is formed over here. A soap film will be formed. So surface tension of the soap film, how it can be defined? It can be defined as, see, since this soap film or water film or whatever film we have, it will try to have this soap film or water film, it will try to have minimum surface area. So it will try to behave like a stressed membrane and it will apply force on the boundaries. It will try to apply force, it will try to contract itself, the surface area will try to minimize itself. So it will try to apply a force on this wire which forms the boundary of this film. It will try to apply force like this. Now we quantify surface tension. We quantify surface tension in terms of these forces. We quantify surface tension in terms of these forces. We quantify it as force acting on this boundary of surface or film per unit length. We quantify surface tension as force acting on the boundary of the film or boundary of the surface, liquid surface, per unit length, and surface tension is defined by T. We denote surface tension by T. So this T equals to force acting on the periphery, on the boundary of the film, per unit length, per unit length. This is how we define surface tension. Force acting on the boundary per unit length, that's the surface tension. That's how we define surface tension in terms of force acting on the boundary. I can give you a small experiment. I can just discuss a small experiment by which you can calculate this. What you can do is, let's do one thing. Let's take a let me give you experimental setup to find out this T. Suppose we have, say, this wire loop. This is a fixed one, and on this, suppose we have a slider. This is also wire, but it can slide. These are fixed, but this PQ can slide. This AB CD is fixed, but this PQ can slide. Now what I can do is, this forms a loop. See, this frame and this slider forms a kind of loop, and let's dip this loop in a soap solution. So film will come over here, you'll have a film getting produced when you dip it into soap solution. You have a film getting produced which is bounded by this curve, bounded by these lines, these wires, right? So these are all fixed. These are all fixed, but this is movable. So this film will apply force on this PQ, right? Suppose this PQ is light, means the mass is negligibly small. Then under the effect of this force, you will find that this PQ will slide, and it will slide and will collide with AB. Suppose this whole thing, if I don't consider gravity part, if I assume this mass to be negligibly small, mass of this wire and mass of this PQ slider is negligibly small, then under the effect of the force which is developed by the surface tension on the slider, this slider is going to move in upward direction and it will come to AB. It will come together with AB. So in order to prevent the sliding in upward direction, suppose I apply a force F. Suppose I apply a force F, right? And I apply force F. I keep on increasing F such that this PQ comes in equilibrium. I apply this force F and I keep on varying this F till this PQ comes in equilibrium. So when does PQ will come in equilibrium? When force due to surface tension, force due to surface tension on PQ in upward direction is equal to force F exerted by external agency in downward direction, right? So the force acting in downward direction is F. So if PQ is in equilibrium, then this is T, and see if it is a film usually have got two surfaces, one above the film, one below the film. So you have two film, so the length of boundary of each film is say L, but you have two film, so you have T into L force exerted by single film, and since you have two film, the net force acting on this PQ because of the film is 2TL, where T is the surface tension, and in that case your T can be equal to F upon 2L. This is the F which is exerted by external agency in order to bring PQ in equilibrium, and 2L is the total length of the film. Total length of the film on PQ. You have two film, one above PQ, one below PQ, and the total length of the film is 2L. So that's the surface tension. That's how you can measure surface tension. Alright. In this way you can measure the value of surface tension. See, it looks as if it is similar to some kind of spring getting stretched or some kind of material getting stretched. It's very similar. Spring also, when you stretch it, or if you have spring and you stretch it, you have a restoring force kind of thing acting, right? And that restoring force try to bring the spring to original position. This surface tension is similar to that restoring kind of force, but there is a difference. The difference is, in case of restoring forces, we have found that if you stretch the membrane, then the amount of restoring force depends on how much you stretch the membrane. The more you stretch the membrane, the more you stretch the spring, more is the restoring force. But in case of surface tension, we don't have such a thing. It does not depend on how much you stretch the membrane. Surface tension does not depend on see, in case of spring, the restoring force acting was depending on the extension of the spring. If a spring is stretched more, then that means restoring force will be higher. So it followed Hooke's law. Got it? Hooke's law, that stress developed is proportional to strain, but this Hooke's law is not followed over here in case of surface tension. Surface tension does not depend on how much the surface is stretched, right? So Hooke's law is not followed in case of surface tension. That's the major difference between restoring force that you have inside elastic materials and surface tension of the film. So surface tension of the film, it can be defined as the force acting per unit length of the film. Per unit length of the film. Getting a point? See here, we have one more way of defining surface tension basically, and that will be in terms of surface energy. See how we can define it. See, you have a surface tension, you have a force acting on this movable slider due to surface tension, and suppose I move this slider by a distance of x. In that case, the surface area will increase by how much amount? Lx. See, if I move this slider, if I apply force on the slider, and as an action of this force, if the slider moves by a distance of x, then your film, the area of the film increases by how much distance? 2Lx. Or the force which you must apply to increase the surface area of the film, the force which you must apply to increase the surface area of the film would be, say, F. And if as a result of action of this force, you apply a force F, and as a result of this force, if suppose your slider moves by a distance of, say, x, right, then how much force you must apply in order to move the slider? The force you should apply must be equal to force due to the surface tension. And how much is the force due to surface tension? That will be equal to T into 2L. Why 2L? Because you have the film consists of two surfaces, one above and one below. So the total length of the film is 2L and T is the surface tension. So minimum force you must apply to stretch the film is T into 2L. And suppose you stretch the film by a distance of x, right? So that's equal to the work done. See, when you apply force F and the slider moves by a distance of x, how much work you have done? You have done work W, and W is equal to F into x. But this force which you must apply in order to stretch the membrane must be equal to T into 2L, because T is the force acting per unit length by the surface tension, and total length is 2L. The film consists of two surfaces, two liquid surfaces, one above and one below. So total length would be 2L, L on the upper film, L on the lower film. So total force which is acting on this slider due to surface tension is T into 2L. So you must apply this amount of force in order to move this slider in downward direction. So work done is this, right? Work done is this. So what is this? 2Lx. 2Lx is the additional surface area of the film which is created as a result of application of the force F. 2Lx is the additional area which the film has got due to this work done by external agency. So we can define T as work done by external agency upon this area of the film which is created. It is work done by external agency, and this is increase in area of the film. So we can define T as, work done in increasing the area of film by 1 unit is called surface tension. And whatever work you have done, where it will get stored? Whatever work you have done, that will appear as surface energy of the film. Whatever work you have done, that will appear as surface energy of the film. That will go on increasing surface energy of the film. Whatever surface energy of the film was there, this work done will go into increasing the surface energy of the film. So when you stretch it, when you increase the area, the surface energy becomes higher. When you increase the area of the film, surface energy goes higher, right? And we can define surface energy mathematically here also. We can define surface energy as work done in constructing this film. So work done in constructing the film is what? T into area. The minimum force you must apply is T into L. T into this 2L. And then you have to move the slider by X. This is the area which is increased. So if I start from 0, then the work done in forming the film, work done in constructing the film will be equal to T into surface area of the film, and that will be defined as surface energy of the film. This is how surface energy is defined. So T can be defined as surface tension. T is nothing but surface tension. T is basically surface energy per unit area. Surface energy per unit area. Okay, this is how we can define. Okay. So